A healthy mind lives in a healthy body, and we have none other than Professor Timaree Hagenburger, all the way from Sacramento, who has just given a demo of healthy cooking right here in the Wellness Conference in ICC Milpitas. This is a beautiful dish. It's a healthy dish. People were so excited. It's yummy as well. And you always keep talking about food loving you back. We all eat food not just for survival, but for our taste buds. Especially the Punjabis, they have a lot of rich diet that comes from a background where they used to work hard in the fields, and they eat a lot of desi ghee, that's clarified butter and stuff, and it really tastes good, I must admit, I must confess, and they feel pride about that food as well. At the same time, we have to see what's good for our health. Food that loves you back. I think that's a great concept. That's a great catchword. Welcome, Dr. Tim, to Yo India TV with me, Jasleen Khanuja. And tell me a little about this particular dish. Let's start with the beautiful food that you have just cooked.
Yes, absolutely. So this food that I've cooked is called a scramble. So we use all kinds of fresh vegetables. We use onions and garlic. Some are eating onions and garlic. We do fresh greens. And we learned in the conference how greens can help open up blood vessels. And everybody is struggling with heart disease. India, there's a lot of heart disease, and we don't want to succumb to that. We don't want it to steal life from our families. So what we do is eat food that opens up our blood vessels. So these greens are amazing. And one thing to add to this, a little special surprise, is a little bit of mustard. So when you add fresh mustard to the greens, it becomes even more anti-diabetic, anti-cancer, anti-heart disease. Very, very important. So we want to have this for the whole family. I have kids, 12 and 15 years old, and we make this on the weekend, and then everybody enjoys it all week. There are the longest living, the food that is associated with living the longest in the world, across every country, legumes, beans, peas, lentils. So these are some black beans, and it doesn't have to be black beans. It can be any beans. But the more color, the more nutrition. So when we think about onions, so I'm going to talk about onions. So red onion is going to have more nutrients, more antioxidants to protect our cells than white onions or yellow onions. So we want to always remember color, color, color.
Wow. So colored food is actually good. Don't color the food artificially, but get the naturally colored vegetables and fruits.
Here is an example of a beautiful color, right? Turmeric. This is so powerful. And people now are taking supplements, capsules, the curcumin capsules. No, no, no. Turmeric root, the fresh root, you can put in the freezer. That's another tip. If you put the turmeric in the freezer and then you shave it with a microplane on salads into food, much more nutritious. If you try to take a pill of curcumin, you're missing out on the nutrients that are in turmeric that are not the curcumin. We see wonderful studies, people respond to turmeric without curcumin because plants are complicated. They're miracles, just like our body. Miracle. We need to eat the food in the whole form, not in some processed form. Very important. And, okay, another tip. Oh my gosh, are you ready for another tip?
Yes.
Adding black pepper always to turmeric. Whenever you do any kind of work with turmeric, you add black pepper because it helps the liver not break down the turmeric and leave it in the blood. We want high levels to protect our cells from inflammation. So you always pair those together. I have, at this conference, I did a chai spice blend with almond milk for a chai milk in the morning. Everybody loved it. It had the turmeric in there. It's also on my website and in my cookbook, The Foodie Bar Way. That is my cookbook. That it's just my heart in a book. Because my students said, if I lived with you, I would eat wonderful. And I said, well, you cannot move in, but here are the recipes. So I have that available.
Awesome, awesome. So one simple question that I would ask is, like, craving for carbs, is something that I've heard from many people, especially in an Indian diet. We always have a bread basket. And I know that's not healthy.
Right.
Especially
right.
when we go with enriched wheat flour and we add any kind of oil or butter or ghee in that.
Right, that
So
combination.
that's something that will make us fat.
Right.
I know that tends to going towards an unhealthy lifestyle, but
Right.
it's really very satisfying to the taste buds.
Yes.
How
And
do we
so-
how do we cut that craving?
Well, some of that too, and this may sound crazy, but if you don't eat enough greens, you will crave food all day. And so some actually, that's why this recipe in the morning, because you're starting with greens and legumes, can hold you. A lot of people in the morning, they just do coffee or tea, they try to wait, and then they're hungry. And then in the afternoon, they can't stop eating. So, and we also have to remember, whenever you're dealing with a grain, you want the intact grain, the whole grain, and ideally with water. So if you cook rice, like the whole brown rice, it's fine. But when you've now taken wheat and you've taken off the bran, you've taken out the germ, now you just have wheat flour, which is white flour, then it gets processed and it goes into your bloodstream just like that. And you don't want that. You want to chew, and you want the digestion process. You want it to feed the good bacteria in your gut. And you can't have that if you're just doing a bread product, especially if now you mix the oil with it. So what I would recommend is whole foods that are complex carbs. Sweet potatoes, amazing. Sweet potatoes would be excellent. The legumes, that's your go-to. So when you're craving something, remember, did I eat enough greens today? Did I drink enough water? And did I have enough of the sweet potato or, the legumes today? Because 3 times a day, half a cup at least of legumes.
Awesome. That's great. And it is also always recommended to keep away from the non-veg diet and go towards a vegetarian diet. Vegan is even better. So what's the basic reason that, red meat is not considered good, and then chicken is better than that? Probably that's my
actually
understanding.
It isn't. Now we know that all animal flesh, actually all animal products, cause inflammation. So you're consuming the animal's inflammation, because we all have inflammation. When you get a cut or you get a sting by a bee or something, you have inflammation, and that immune system saves you. It keeps the poison right there. It may be red, fever, but we're not supposed to just be temporary, not consistent inflammation. But when animals are inflamed and then we eat them, then we get their inflammation, all the toxins, anything that was in their feed is concentrated into us. So we have that, and we know that animal protein fuels cancer.
Oh.
It can turn cancer on and turn cancer off, especially milk, the cow milk protein.
So are you saying even milk is not good?
I'm saying that cow milk protein can support cancer growth. Yes.
So buffalo milk is better?
I think no milk. I mean, human milk when you're baby breastfed, but another species, it seems a little strange to drink another species milk. It's something that we've grown up doing. I mean, we all have, but just because we've done it doesn't mean it's optimal.
And what about eggs?
Eggs are very, very closely linked to diabetes, and eggs also with cancer. Same thing, inflammation, the cholesterol, and the eggs get oxidized, the cholesterol gets oxidized, and same thing with ghee. When you heat those products, the cholesterol gets exposed to oxygen, and then it crosses the blood-brain barrier, and then it goes to the brain, and then it can increase your risk of Alzheimer's.
So when we talk to doctors, especially pediatricians, they say that the kid must be well fed in terms of the protein intake, right? And people who do not eat non-veg and probably who do not even eat eggs, and now you're saying probably milk is also not recommended.
So that's why legumes. I mean, we're back to those legumes that we had mentioned. And the soy, if it's organic soy, it's a wonderful source. It doesn't cause feminine characteristics in men. It actually reduces women's breast cancer risk. Girls that are exposed to soy have less, when they're young, have less breast cancer as they age. So it's important for us to all learn more, because the information is there. And there are wonderful sources of protein. In these vegetables, there's protein. The beans are packed with protein, and our body can use this protein. Nuts and seeds are excellent. Flax seeds and chia seeds and pumpkin seeds, all kinds of food. Yes, there's all kinds of sources.
So, when it comes to beverages, especially the cold beverages, I really don't know if it is a good practice to use ice in all the cold drinks. That's for one. And two, to have hot tea or coffee after every meal.
So the ice in beverages is fine, unless you're putting it in soda, and then you should not be drinking the soda, okay? But for the tea and coffee after, we see that it should be separated by at least 1 hour, because tea has tannins, and same thing with coffee, and it can reduce the absorption of minerals. So you don't want to have your tea with meals. Ideally, for maximum absorption, like of iron and calcium, you want it separated for 1 hour. And ideally, your tea should not have milk in it, because you lose some of the nutritional benefits.
So that holds good for both the hot and the cold tea.
Yeah. And the best would be if you did cold brew for tea. So on my website, thenutritionprofessor.com, and in my book, I have a recipe for a tropical splash cold drink, and you do cold brew. So you put the tea bags in the water and just in the fridge. And then you don't ever heat it, because that can disrupt some of the phytonutrients. So it makes it very, very easy. Yes. Did I answer your questions?
Of course, those are some of the major things that probably all Indian Americans in particular would be thinking of. It's something that keeps going on at the back of our mind, But last but not the least.
Okay, one more.
Calorie recommendation,
Yes, I don't recommend a specific amount of calories. Okay. What I recommend is making sure you get the food. It's the source, because people can lose weight on Twinkies. Does it mean they're going to be healthy? No. So because when we eat food, that's our whole food, we don't even absorb all of the nutrients, absorb all the calories, like the beans. When I eat beans, some of that starch feeds my good bacteria. So I don't absorb those calories. So my brain thinks I'm eating them, but my body knows I can get rid of some in the waste. So when you are focused on quality of food, not on number of calories or macros, how much protein, how much carbs, it doesn't matter if the quality is not good. And what we mean by quality is plant-based whole food. So if you're talking about greens and beans and garlic and mushrooms and carrots and tomatoes, and you don't need to count. Just enjoy.
Awesome. You can just go on eating healthy as much as you want.
That's right.
I think that's the biggest tip I got.
Yes, absolutely. Comfortable satiety. And if you're not adding sugar, you're not adding oil, that's not even food. Those are the ingredients that increase the calories without satiety. When we eat these whole foods, we feel full, we feel content, because it fills up our stomach. If you just put in oil, it doesn't even show up in the stomach, and you don't feel satisfied.
Awesome. You can gain a lot of satisfaction, and the food will love you back. You will not get sick. You will not get ill. You may not have to go to a nutritionist, although I would not say that.
No.
So go to her website and get some great tips. Follow the great advice that we just learned. And you can also write to her in person. How do they reach you?
thenutritionprofessor@gmail.com.
Fantastic, Doc. That was really awesome. It was a wonderful conversation. It was an eye-opener, and I'm sure all of you would have also benefited from the great tips and tricks. So stay healthy and tune in for more updates on Yo India TV. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm Timaree Hagenburger, nutrition professor and registered dietitian, and come listen to me on Yo India TV.